Welcome to Package Your Genius. I'm your host, Amanda Miller Littlejohn. I'm a former print journalist turned PR and personal branding pro, and I am here to help high achievers like you bring your genius ideas to life. Whatever gift you have to give the world, I want to be a catalyst for your next genius move. If you're ready to stop overthinking it and start putting yourself out there, you're in the right place. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of Package Your Genius. I'm excited to sit here and record this episode for you. Now, I have actually kind of been in a bit of consternation about this week's episode. So I don't know how many of you all have your own podcasts. You probably listen to tons of podcasts. And I know that for the vast majority of the podcasts that are out there in the podcast universe, hosts decide what their episodes are going to be long in advance, and they typically record interviews in advance and know what their season is going to look like, or at least the next 5, 6, 7 episodes is going to look like, generally speaking. And I don't do that. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way to run your podcast, but I have found for me, this podcast is almost a spiritual practice because I really wait to see each week what messages are coming through my life and my experience, interactions with clients or with my kids. And I really try to be in the moment to identify a download that I think is relevant to you all. And so for the most part, I don't pre-record my episodes. Sometimes I will see a nugget or hear a nugget or experience something during the week, and I'll know, and I'll even hear like the title of the episode just kind of dart through my mind, and I'll write it down. And I know that that's the theme or the principle I want to dive into later, but that's really it. I'm not creating a podcast content calendar for this. This podcast is really just me sitting down to share what's on my heart and what's happening and the lessons I'm learning as I get them. And so this week I was waiting for the download and I was wondering, what is it that I want to share and what is it that I want to say this week? And Monday, I had the opportunity to sit down with one of our Academy alum to record a case study for my website. And we did the interview, and it was just so great. Beyond just being obviously a great testimonial for our program, it was really powerful to hear someone's experience about what kept them stuck and what it took for them to unleash and unlock the next level for themselves. And I wanted to share the case study for today as the episode because I actually got the download. Amanda just used the case study. That's the episode for this week, right? So that was the download I got. But as I kept listening to my client or former student, alum, however you want to call her, I was hearing so many themes that beyond just being like this, again, this advertisement for the program, it was really an advertisement for being yourself, accepting yourself fully, and really believing that you can have what you want. And I'm going to say that again because I feel like even me, even when I think about the things that I want or being myself, I'm guilty of tempering what I think is possible. And so when you do that, you're not completely surrendering and saying, this is happening, so let's go. And so this testimonial or this case study from Ash Johns, who is an ancestral healer of all things, really reinforced to me that it's fine, okay, and preferred to be yourself. you have something that the world needs, and you can't hide the parts of yourself that you think other people won't understand because you think that's going to cut into your success or cut into your money or keep you from the bigger pot that you think you deserve. And so I talk to a lot of high achievers who are playing out some version of that story because for a lot of them, they were the hardworking kids, the nerds growing up who really strived to be successful in a context that kids can be successful. So outside of sports, I think school is probably the most accepted way for children to find success and to achieve. And I know I was definitely that person. I definitely was a nerd. I don't think I identified as one. For a long time, I was a cool nerd, I guess. I feel like there were levels, right? Levels of nerddom. So I was this really bookish, smart child, very creative, very introspective, very much like the Amanda of today, but also listened to rap music. You know, today it would be trap music, and could recite lyrics, and I could dance and do these cool things. But there was this side of me that was just so deep, right? And I learned early on that I had to hide my depth to be accepted in the mainstream. I had to hide my excellence. Like, it was easy for me to stand out for academics or creative projects or just the things that I think my clients look to me now for and are excited about engaging with me on. But growing up, it just wasn't cool to know all the answers or to think outside the box or to really like take the teacher seriously and go all in on the assignment and try to take it to the next level. Like, that was not cool. That was doing the most. That was being a teacher's pet. But I just always hungered to be challenged, and I hungered to do more and stretch myself and see what was possible for me and what I was capable of. And I was always excited when I encountered people whose expectations of me stretched me. But at the same time, I understood that rising to that expectation was not always what would get me popularity or friends or cool points or the boyfriend that I wanted or what have you. Actually, that's not true because I was good with the boys. But anyway, my point is I can relate to tucking away a part of yourself. And I've talked about this before, talked about it on the episode when being yourself is doing too much. That is a dominant theme in a story from the early part of my life. But when I sat down with my Academy alum and was listening to her talk about how she wasn't sure that she could earn the type of money that she had earned previously in her corporate career, now doing the type of work that she's called to do. And so she has this advertising background, but then she's got this really spiritual side where she literally does ancestral healing. Like, she helps you connect to your past and the past members of your family and heal those wounds that maybe have been repeated through the generations, right? So I think a lot of talk is about, what is the word, intergenerational trauma and like all of the things that are passed down and the patterns that will repeat if they're not broken by an intentional family member. And so that's a part of the work she helps you address, and she helps you figure out what you need to do to shift your patterns or step into a new story or just heal the things from your past. But so anyway, it's very, very woo, as she would say. So woo woo as a thing. And so among the coaching world, like business coaches and life coaches, this is kind of the really far out spiritual coaching that even the most pragmatic people would kind of look at and say, what is that? What does that even mean? Right. And so I think she was warring with this part of herself. And let me not give away the whole interview case study because she can tell you more about it. But once she decided and realized that she could completely accept herself and lean into who she is, everything changed in her business. And so I wanted to share her case study as a podcast episode, not because I think that you have her exact same story and you have a woo side that you want to offer to the world and get paid for, but whether it is you work in corporate America and you think, well, I could never be as successful, running my coffee shop as I am in corporate America, or if, like me, you've always identified as being smart and having this depth that was just too much for other people, you can still put your depth on display and share that deep side of you to the world and have people who are attracted and not repelled by that. And that's been one of the greatest lessons of my life. Like, I'm so grateful that I have had mentors and I've been able to learn about how stepping into your truth really, really helps to connect you to the tribe that you were meant to have. And so because of that, I'm seeing such a great connection with the people who do choose to join the academy or do choose to sign up for our agency. And I'm just here to tell you that nothing feels better than people who choose you when you're being yourself. Like, there's nothing like it. So I'm going to share this case study, interview, whatever you want to call it, because number one, the download for the week was just use the case study as the episode. But number two, I hope that you can drop into her story and see how parts of it connect with you. If you are in a place where you want to show the world a part of you, or you want to activate a side of yourself, but you're afraid that doing so would set you up to be less successful than you are right now. So here's my conversation with ancestral healer and psycho-spiritual coach, Ashley Johns. I'm so excited to be here. Yay! I'm here with Ash, who has this amazing business that she's going to tell you all about. So welcome, Ash, and thank you for being here, a part of our Package of Genius Academy community. And I would love for you to share who you are and what you do, because it's really incredible, and I won't do it justice.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm just so glad to be here to chat with you, to connect, to share my entire journey in Package Your Genius. And just kind of raise the roof on what you do and who you do it with and why, because it's pretty amazing. So I am Ash Johns. I'm an ancestral healer, I'm a psycho-spiritual coach, and I'm a conscious business strategist. And I came to be all of those things in a really wild story that we don't even have time for, really, but essentially seeing that there's no separation with entrepreneurs or those of us who have a bigger calling between who we are and what we do for a living. And as I moved into running women's retreats abroad in Bali, Indonesia, because I had a background in advertising and walked away from all of that to pursue my dream and my calling of being a healer and a coach and helping people, live the life that they're supposed to live. And I was realizing that I'd have these entrepreneurs or these, C-level or executive level, all the women that I knew from my old career coming to Soul Search. And it was themselves getting in the way of their dream or their business or their position, and this is where it gets interesting, it was ancestral traumas, ancestral wounds, deeply rooted socio and economic and political beliefs that are stopping us from stepping into our calling and what we want to do to see the world be as bright and as big as we know it can be. And so I work in all different levels to help us come together and live our purpose. So, yeah.
So that's really incredible. And I will be the first to admit that I had never fully, I won't say I hadn't heard of what you do, but you were the first person I experienced who was doing what you do at the level you're doing it. Because I think some people have like a spiritual sense or side, and they are, they have gifts, they have these spiritual gifts and they use them to some degree, but they're not like leading with that. And so it was so exciting just to learn so much about your work and just the field that you embody and, explore some of your services. It's just like opened up this whole world to me, which is why I'm so glad that you found me and you found the Academy. Speaking of finding me, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
How, like, what made you, look for me or look for something like me? Because I don't think you were looking for me specifically, but what were you going through when you initially reached out? What problem were you facing?
Yeah, no, I definitely was looking for you. I just didn't know who you were going to be, but I had an idea in my spirit of I am trained and have over 10 years experience being a strategist, being a brand strategist.
Right.
And I was looking for someone that I could trust who felt like me, but was going to help me rise and to like see the blind spots and show up deeper in myself and could package it all. And what I loved about you is that you're so down to earth. You're so organized. You really are. You root for people. You really go to the bat for them. And I was like, oh, I really feel her. And you have all this PR experience in journalism and background, so you know how to really get it together. And I was like, you know what? I have worked with people all over the world of different backgrounds. And I was like, the next person to help me rise needs to be a Black woman and someone that I trust and someone that I can see myself growing in community with. It's not just a service exchange, which is something I believe in as it relates to conscious business. Like, we have the container of the business and the exchange of what we're doing, but also there's something else that grows. And that's what helps, I believe, people rise. It helped me rise in your program. So I did a Google search for personal branding coach. And I think I pulled up two people. It was someone who was actually in Cyprus, who I did a consult for. And it was nice, but she didn't get what I was saying. I was like, I know the structures of what you're saying, but you're not feeling who I am. You're not getting it. You're just going to try to put me into the framework. And what I felt the first time we connected, which you were like, girl, you're good. You got it. And I'm like, no, I know I'm stuck. But I was like, okay, I needed that vote of confidence. It can look great, but if you don't feel it inside and you don't start getting over the deeper things, then you're not really showing up. And that's what I was seeing in myself. I was seeing that I was holding myself back. I had the knowledge, but I wasn't able to move into action. And you are so unapologetically wonderful at calling people on their stuff to call them forward. So I appreciate you for that, for real, because that's what I needed and that's what I wanted.
So in terms of what you were challenged with, like, where was your business and what were you looking to achieve? What were you hoping to accomplish? What you were here and you were trying to get to here. So where were you and where were you trying to go?
I was in self-doubt. I was in self-doubt and healing. I had gone back to corporate advertising for a whopping 5 months because I was not making the income that I wanted to make once I reintegrated into America. Like, I was making great money overseas. I now moved an entire business and revamped it to the States. And I went back to corporate thinking that I could like stack up on some cash, or I need to check back again, or I could do the both. And Spirit was like, yeah, no. And so I was in self-doubt and I was in self-sabotage. And the second time I reached out again, because you were doing intake, I was like, no, I really need help to get out of my own way. And I was going from making money sometimes, but inconsistently, definitely not enough to pay the bills or to rise to what I was used to as far as an income on my own. And definitely not the income that I was making my full-time job, which was killing me. Like, every day I could feel in my spirit I was not supposed to be there again. So coming out of Package Your Genius, it was making literally 5 figures again that I have not seen in over 3 years out of my business. And I've actually never seen it to that point in one month's time. It would be like, a little bit, oh yeah, great. But I've never made a consistent 5 figures in my business. And just from the work that you have taught us as far as showing up and getting out of your own way, saying exactly what you need. I needed to rework all my packages because I was believing, not only was I self-sabotaging and having doubt on if I could really make that kind of money in my business and stay in spiritual integrity. Like, that's a non-negotiable. And when you're a healer, it's easy for someone to try to just move you into a business model that'll make you have revenue. That's how I operate. So being able to get to a space of making the money that I need to restructure all of my numbers and to believe that there are people out there who need me and who do have the assets to roll over for an exchange. And I found that through Package Your Genius.
Yeah, I do remember that was one of the things that you said when we first talked, that you didn't believe that, certain people that you wanted to work with were in a position to pay you what you were worth, because your process is really in depth. It's not like, oh, we're going to have a session and then I send you off into, the moonlight and you are on your own. It's like really both in depth from what they get, but also in what you have to access in yourself to be a vehicle for them to get what they need, which I always was just like, girl, that is worth.
The spirit work of unblocking those things with your ancestors so that you can call in that wisdom, the blessings that are in your birthrights. And history, economic, racism, like patriarchy, all these things have created stuff that makes us broken or small inside. And so once you're working with the spirit of all of them and elevating your ancestors and having a relationship with them and clearing space, you then have to work on changing your behavior and thinking differently, because now the channels are open. So it's like a two-part experience that therapy alone can't give you. So we're doing spirit work and we're doing coaching work. And you're right. Even to this point, I think about you being like, I know soon there's going to be some other shifts in order to make it energetically sound. But that was a big breakthrough for me, like big. And thank you again, for real.
Absolutely. So when you think back to the shifts that you made within the program, what would you say were just a few parts of the system or the program, even like, I don't know, whether was the lessons or the office hours or the one-on-ones, or, like what were the parts that really helped it click for you, what you needed to do, how you were sabotaging yourself, and then how, because I remember a few office hours where you would just be like, Amanda, and you were like kind of on the verge of tears. You'd have these little breakthroughs and then you just disappear. You're like, yeah. I have to go. And you would log off. I'm like, wait a minute, Ash, we're still going. The group is still here. Ash is gone.
I'm like, I love the group, but my little spirit was hurt. I was like, I just need to tend to myself for a moment and let them process and metabolize. And because I am a sensitive soul. I'm a wise soul, but I'm a sensitive soul. And so some of the calling forward was such a big shock to the adrenaline. And that's with any personal growth, whether you're working spiritually or coaching or in therapy. Anytime you're ripping off those scabs, you get some air into the deeper wound. Like it's shocking. And so to me, and I don't know, I know, but I don't know if you ever articulate that the showing up to see someone and someone to see you is already big. Like that was a step in be seen, Ash, like be seen in what your true medicine is. And then two, it was having other people in the group witness it, because the chat box would be blowing up with like, yeah, and another thing, and did you think about this? And I'd be like, oh my God, everybody.
Or you're amazing, like that.
Yes, that's true. So that was already healing that wound of being afraid or thinking that what I have to offer is too woo-woo, even though I have the science and the education and the experience to back it up. I felt that I was leaving one world of corporate and business and how I'm supposed to show up there, and that I'm not welcome in another space. And going through the group experience showed me that it is needed. It's needed more there probably than everywhere else, right? Because we're pretending to be a certain way in our corporate careers in order to fit in and to get the promotions or to have the effect. You've got to play the game in order to have the access, essentially, to flip it. So that was really big for me. I ran away from all of the therapy sessions because I was just like, I can't even handle anymore. Dr. Moxley. I regret that. I do, because you do need the psychological support to help you come through, but I just couldn't take anymore. So I'm going to honor it. But I love you be like, where were you? And I'm like, I know, I tried. I just couldn't.
When you say you can't take anymore, what does that mean? Take anymore.
I felt there was so much, because I was doing the things in my business. I had planted some seeds and they were already started to flourish at the same time where I was excavating and making space with Package Your Genius. So two things were already really big. And every time I had a surge of change, it was just like, my body went into shock. And so I knew I didn't have enough room for more therapy or more. I would have been like, I would have shut down at that point, like fully. I think I would have been like, let me nurture myself with massages and good food and avoidance. And I just didn't want to go all the way over the edge. I know that just because I've done years of healing and coaching and like immersion work. But if I were to do it again, I would hope to have enough space to show up for that, because it is wildly supportive. And I saw the parts where I needed it, but I was too afraid to show up. Like I could have probably leaned down on that last session, but I was like, you good. So, there's that. I
And
think
yet you still made such leaps, but anyway.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Because I'm always working on myself too. You know, I think not to toot my own horn, but to toot my own horn.
Shoot it.
Toot toot is any good coach and healer is someone who's also working on themselves. And so, yeah, and I see that even with you. You know, a lot of times people can talk it and they can lead people in it, but they're not doing this stuff for themselves or continuing to deepen. And I do. So I knew I needed some rest.
I love that. That's such a great point. I was just having a conversation with a client the other day and was able to transmit something that I've only, been working on. The only reason I can transmit it is because it's something I'm working on myself. And it was like, I just kind of was casually sharing it. And it was so interesting how she just zeroed in on that point that, like, if I hadn't been doing the work to kind of come into that on my own, it wouldn't have been available to her. So I think that's a fantastic point. And thank you for mirroring that back to me, because I don't think people realize how much work goes into being in a position to make space and room for other people to have the breakthroughs that they need, to unblock in the way they need. Like, everything you see when you're getting these gems from people, even if it's just watching their Instagram stories or listening to their podcast, like, that requires so much cultivation just to be in a space to receive a message that can be applied to a wider audience. So whether it's reading the books or watching your masterclass videos, it's like, we are doing a ton of work. So not to belabor that.
Yeah, that's real.
You talked a bit about results, like you kind of talked about revenue, but specifically, if you could say, what have been the results, like just like brass tacks, especially as a fellow branding coach, which I think is incredible that, as a branding coach, you go through a branding program and feel like, I got so much out of this. So what would you say were the results that you personally got from going through the 12-week Package Your Genius Academy program and being in community with us?
Yeah, I love this. And I think that just to lean into that a little bit, people think because you are something that you don't need to hire someone to do that. And that is totally that, like, hire someone to or work with someone or join a program, because we can't see our blind spots. We can't. And mine was not being really clear on what I had to say, and not being clear because I was afraid to show up. And also all of my money blocks, like not knowing that I was worth charging what I need to charge, and that I can provide access to people based on the energetic exchange and honestly the spiritual place I'm putting myself in order to help people. Like, it's full on spirit work. So those were my main three issues that I think that were resolved or obviously brought to the light and worked through during Package Your Genius. So the brass tack things, I got clear on my message, fully writing it out, like fully knowing and understanding, and being able to sharpen it with language that, like, I'm fully can be very, okay, so I'm gonna get a little woo-woo for y'all, but my 10th house, if you're into astrology, my 10th house of work is Capricorn. Capricorn is all about structure, organization, getting stuff done, building it. And that's why I was successful in my previous career. I love structure. At the same time, I'm a Pisces. I like to flow and I like creativity, and I'm all about the spirit and the emotions and the depth work. So those two things are working together, but they're obviously also in conflict at times. And I was noticing, and when you had us writing out our big message and our big idea and like really articulating, each lesson seemed like it was repeating itself because they built on each other, but it was really calling you in to get clear and stand on the truth of what I had to say. And I hadn't done it with such of a fine-tooth comb before. With others, yes, but not for me. And like, for that, I'm forever grateful, because it's what I was looking for and I needed the most. I can do that for other folks, but I hadn't had anyone do it for me. And you like superseded what I needed in my expectations. So I'm going to thank you again for that, for real. The second thing that I got was, again, looking at my structure, my business, and creating packages and numbers that would help me take care of my life. Like, I was in the middle of a straight up separation and divorce when this was going down. And I didn't want to tell you that at the time, but I was like moving. I quit my job. I was leaving my partner. All my money was different. I had 3 months rent, which I ended up giving to the program, because I was like, you're like, I got you. Like, I heard you say it and I'll never forget it. You're like, I got you, Ash, just show up and trust. And I did, and you did. So, and I want to say that because I want people to know your character and the work that you do. So yeah, I was able to look at my packages and what I need to be asking for to move from survival and scarcity mode into thriving and wellness, and being able to show up with more energy to serve people and to also have a balance in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing, what was the third thing? I would say learning that I can get in information that I need, and I can also apply it when I need it to. So there was like some first ask that you did that was around finding experts and like aligning yourself and doing an article. And it felt like, I was like, I know what's going on here, but I don't know how I feel. Later on, like weeks later, I did it, but I did it in a way that felt, it was a series of ASH honors. And it was all the people that I honored in the year who do work there. And I was like, that's totally what Amanda told me. I got it, which I think is awesome. This is an awesome way to learn, is like get the information, but you transmute it into the way that's authentic to you, and you allow it.
And sometimes these lessons, for some people, it's like a seed that sprouts and comes up a year later, and people circle back and say, I finally did this, or it finally clicked for me, or I'm doing what you told me. Some people, it's immediate, but like, I think the beauty of it is the lessons don't die. They don't go anywhere. They're in you. And when you are present to the opportunity to use them, it's powerful. I don't want to get all in your business.
Wait. Before you do that, though, this is a good point. I think that that's really important to hone in on, though, Amanda, because high achievers, we want to check the boxes. We're like, well, did I do it right? Did I do it? And this is what she said. Like, I would feel guilt when I would show up to the call and I didn't fully finish the work. And you were like, you're getting the results that you have.
Exactly.
That you like, oh yeah, thanks. Let me breathe.
Like, you have 10 new clients, and like, that's the whole point of all of the work. So if you're getting it without having to do all of the assignments, and it's because you changed who you were showing up differently. And I think it just started to manifest in your life. But I think that, what? Go ahead.
Get up in my business. That's what
I just wanted the call we had when we were talking about, like, we had our call, and then like, I think I want to do it. And then you followed up and you're like, Amanda, I'm gonna put this deposit down.
Right. But
I'm just letting you know.
I don't make no money.
You were literally like, the next payment,
it ain't going through. That's for real. It was really that. So I went from literally having 3 months rent, putting one of the month's rent down as the first start of the month, right?
For the academy.
For the academy. Being like, Amanda, I'm going to be very transparent with you. Like, I will not have any, you will get a rejection from the auto deposit or the auto debit. So going from that, and did we start in September or October?
It was October. In
October to January, I made $15,000 in my business from January. I do new moon. I don't do, January, like the 1st through the 31st. I don't do month calendars. I do new moon to new moon.
Okay.
More the spiritualness. So between new moon and January to new moon February is $15,000. I'm on track for another $12,000, right? Like, that is not what I was experiencing before Package Your Genius. I wasn't. And I wasn't showing up with the authority to call that in energetically. And I'm just saying that because I believe in the two. It's spirit and the action.
No, definitely. And I think that's what you were experiencing when you, quote unquote, weren't doing the homework or hadn't finished your assignment, but you were stepping into that energetic of who you need to be in order to generate that. And it was like, I could see it just on your Instagram, like there was a shift. It went from just like, oh, cool, Instagram worthy Bali photos to like this authority where I'm like leaning in because I want to learn from this woman. Like, what does she have to say and how can I apply this to my life? And so I think it was really powerful. I think it's important to share that whole story of not having the resources, because believe it or not, I talk to a lot of people who are really nervous about making the investment, not seeing it as it's an investment. So it's not meant to just be something that you spend that disappears, but the program and just how I like to make people money. Like, I want their investment to reproduce. And essentially, I mean, you just said you tripled your investment essentially in the month of January. And that's what I love, because it's like you're planting a seed and showing people how to grow something. And aside from the fact that, like, you know, more people having better results is great, it's just, to me, out of integrity and alignment. If the whole point is for you to set yourself free economically, or you're trying to build your brand to create a new income stream, if you're not really able to do that. And so a part of me really loves when people come with that sense of urgency, because I know that they are willing to, you know, go as hard as I want them to go and as hard as I'm willing to go for them. And they'll be obedient. You know, they're not going to argue with me about what I'm telling them to do. It's like,
a little bit of argument.
I mean, you did, but you still did your stuff. You still showed up and did your stuff, but you would always be like, well, I don't know. And you'd always come around. So I feel like there was still
the internal check, because to your point, it's like you want people to actually do the work. And there's so many people who say they want the investment. I think this is just that groundswell of online businesses, online coaching, that it seeds a lot of self-doubt, because people have had experiences where people are promising things and they're investing and they're not getting it, which is, if anyone listens to this particular video, I want them to know from my mouth, right, that your character and how you show up and how you hold people accountable, but not holding people accountable to make them codependent, but to see their own powers, that they rise in the truth of what they have to offer, is stellar. Like, that's, once you feel that for yourself, you're forever grateful for an Amanda, or for Amanda, the Amanda. And it's something you don't lose. You don't lose. And that's, you know, I know a lot of people in the industry and do different things online and coaching in different ways. And people don't have that. People don't always have that. It's rare. So invest if you're thinking about it.
Well, thank you. And I think we kind of answered my next question, which was, why did you almost not join? Which I think,
I was broke. I was in trauma. I was like, I love this and everything is changing. But, you know, my life in particular always happens when I make definitive decisions and I go all in and I ask Spirit to carry me. And I do my research, and I feel, so it's like, trust yourself and make a leap and do the work. Show up for the work, for sure.
Yeah. So who would you recommend Package Your Genius Academy as an experience to? Like, what type of person? That's
a really good question. I think if you're a professional who's not getting your just due, Package Your Genius is for you, for sure. If you want to be seen and rise, and you're like, want to negotiate some things or make some moves and have the folks look at you the way that they should be looking at you, this is for you. And I also think people who are more woo, and I don't know if this is normally, if I'm normally your clientele, I know I'm a little bit of both, right? I came from a corporate background and now I'm woo, quote unquote. But
you're pretty on the woo side for my I love it. I'm into it.
But it's folks who have big ideas or a big purpose or a big call, but they can't get it outside of them. That was, you're like, you have ideas, you're swimming around, but you're talking yourself out of it. You're not creating action. You're not showing up because it's just swirling inside, and it creates this creative frustration. And you start to doubt who you really are. If you're feeling that way, then get on and Package Your Genius, because is step by step, you're going to be going through with a nice tight line by line of what you really have to say and what you need to do to get out there. Yeah.
Thank you, Ash. I'm so grateful that you found me and that we were able to spend this time together, both over the Academy and today here. And I know our work together is not finished. So I'm grateful for that. Please let people know how they can find you, because I know just by listening to all of this, people are like, who is this woman and how can we get on her calendar? Because that's just how you show up. So let the people know how they can find you and how they can engage you.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. So you can find me at ashleyjohns.com, ASHLEYJOHNS.com. You can also find me on Instagram at AshInspires. ASHINSPIRES as it is. And also Instagram at Ash Johns also, or not Instagram, I said that wrong, LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for being a part of now our Academy alumni community. Yay. And everybody follow Ash. Truly stay connected with her and just the stuff she's doing, because it's like every week she's dropping new gems, new nuggets, new insights to just kind of open your mind to like why you may be stuck and what you can do in order to move forward. So thank you, Ash.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that awesome? I just love hearing Ash talk. She's so sharp and so creative and so centered and grounded. She just makes me think about all of the things that I want to do and want to explore and the path that I'm on. But if that resonated with you, I hope you'll share your insights with me on social media or by email or just leaving a comment wherever you're listening to this episode. We are in enrollment season for Package Your Genius Academy, the very program that Ash went through. We are starting a spring cohort of the Academy on March 10th. So if you are looking for a program that will help you figure out your focus so that you can craft a message that is tailored to the most compelling aspect of your brand, right? Like so many of us do a lot of things, but we don't know which thing we should hinge our brand on and we should really bring to the forefront and make our focus. And for Ash, I think bringing the ancestral healing to the forefront of her brand was really the key to unlocking those consistent 5-figure months. So if you're unclear on what your focus for your brand should be, you do a lot of great things, you even get paid to do a few things well, but you know you want to double down on one thing and make that the central piece of your message and your brand, you need to be in Package Your Genius Academy, because that's what we spend an entire month of the curriculum working on to get that message tight and clear and help you figure out how is it that you're positioning yourself, especially among your competitors. And then we move into packaging your brand for the internet and for the world. So what does it look like on your website? What keywords should you be using to attract people to you? How's your LinkedIn profile? How's your social media looking? What content are you creating? What stories are you telling about yourself and about your brand? And then lastly, once you're clear on your brand and you've packaged it to a degree, I teach you how to pitch yourself for media opportunities, speaking engagements, and paid client opportunities, whatever that looks like for you. So how do you make the ask to get in front of people who are ready to say yes? Visit packageyourgeniusacademy.com to learn more about our program and to apply for the spring cohort. Again, that is packageyourgeniusacademy.com. I'll see you next time. Bye.